Emor contains within it the mitzvah of Sefiras Haomer. This is the mitzvah that we are observing each night as we count the days between Pesach and Shavuos. According to the Kabbalists, the time of Sefiras Haomer is a time of inner spiritual work, where we try to elevate and refine ourselves to become better, more holy, and godly people. According to Chassidus, each one of us possesses two souls. We have a neshama, a godly soul, which is the seat of all of our positive, holy emotions. The godly soul naturally and instinctively desires connection to Hashem through the observance of Torah and mitzvahs. But we also have an animalistic self, the nefesh habahamis. The animalistic soul is the seat of all of our negative emotions and our negative character traits. It is the source of our selfishness and our pursuit of material worldly desires. During Sefiras Haomer, each night we're supposed to take one aspect of the psyche of this animalistic soul and work on refining and elevating it. The Kabbalists describe that there are 49 different levels within this soul which represent the emotive drives. These parallel the 7 spheres, the 7 divine godly energies, but in their corrupted form, which instead of being focused on God and on others, becomes self-serving. This idea that Sefiras Haomer is a time of inner spiritual introspection and work is alluded to in the Psukim in this week's Parsha. The Pasuk says, Usfartem lachem mimachras haShabbos. You shall count for yourselves from the day after Pesach 7 complete weeks. The word Usfartem, in addition to meaning count, also means to shine. And Usfartem lachem means to make yourselves shine, that we have to make our characters, our personalities shine. And we do so by taking the 7 weeks, the 7 emotive drives of our animalistic soul, and transforming them to becoming Shabbosos, to becoming holy, to becoming elevated. This idea is also alluded to in the Korban Omer itself. The Korban Omer was a barley offering. All of the other menachos, the grain offerings in the Beis Hamikdash, were of wheat. In contrast to barley, wheat is considered the food of man, whereas barley is considered animal fodder. And the idea is that we take the barley, which represents the food of an animal, and we sift that barley multiple times until it is fitting to become elevated to God as a sacrifice. And this represents the avodah, the spiritual service of refining our animalistic soul, that it too can be drawn closer to Hashem. This idea is also expressed in a pasuk later in the Torah, which also refers to the mitzvah Sefiras Haomer, and tells us that we start counting mahachel chermesh bakama from the time that the sickle hits the standing grain. We are taught by our sages, do not read this word in the Torah as bakama, but rather bakoima, which means the stature or the height of a person. The godly soul and the animalistic soul both have character sets, and these character sets mirror the image of a man. The intellect is in the brain, in the head. We have our emotions, which are the right hand, the left hand, and the torso, and the rest of the body representing other parts of our spiritual personality. What the pasuk is telling us is that during the time of Sefiras Haomer, we have to take a chermesh, to take a sickle, to take a scalpel, a blade, to our koima, to our psyche, to our persona, and we need to cut away all of the negativity, all of the negative emotions, all of the negative character traits, and all of their negative expressions in our lives, so that we too can become elevated as well. And what's important to remember is this avodah, personal refinement during the days of Sefiras Haomer, is something that only we can do. We should be aware and self-aware of all of our shortcomings and make it a commitment to try and rectify, to try and better ourselves. But it is not for someone else to come and point out our character flaws and try and do that development for us. That is alluded to another pasuk, which uses similar terminology. The pasuk talks about a prohibition in the Torah, which says, "V'chemesh leisanif al kamas reyecha." You shall not wave a sickle, a blade, over the standing grain of your friend. Which means that we have to take a sickle to ourselves, but it is not our job to take a sickle to somebody else. So as we count the remaining days of the Sefiras Haomer, let's introspect each night on a different part of our spiritual being, our animalistic self and our negative emotions, and try to become an offering to Hashem. Try and lift ourselves up to become better, more spiritually receptive, and better people as well.